So to understand why it's the time of day when it's cooling off, if you're watching this in late afternoon, or why the sun or the coldest temperature of the day, rather, the 24-hour period happens when the sun is up, we need to understand radiation balance a little bit. So the first thing just to talk about is concepts of inputs, transfers, outputs. Okay, so let's say you got a bank account, your inputs are deposits, your transfers, maybe you have a savings and a checking, and outputs, your expenses. Maybe you got a debit card and maybe you write checks or something. Maybe make ATM withdrawals. Okay, the radiation balance, the atmosphere can be thought of the same way. Incoming solar radiation, that's the big input. There's all kinds of transfers within the atmosphere, including reflection, a little bit of diffusion. If you have diffuse radiation, that's kind of making it through thin clouds, for example. And then outputs would be infrared radiation that's radiating out back out of the atmosphere from a warmed Earth. So the transfers going down in the kind of next line there, the third line down, include convection, conduction, and latent heat of vaporization. So convection is like when you have heated air and it rises, like around thunderous clouds or up mountain slopes and stuff like that. That's one kind. Sometimes you get cold air convection too, or cold air aloft. It is moving in. Sometimes you get some rapidly moving currents upwards with that. Conduction is where heat is transferred through a solid or even a liquid a little bit. And latent heat of vaporization, which is just the idea that it takes a lot of energy to evaporate water or to boil water, and then when that water vapor condenses back out, that same amount of energy that it took to put it into that gaseous state is released. That's latent heat. We'll get to that later, though. Net radiation is just the balance in between all the incoming and all the outgoing radiation, both short wave and long wave. So again, the kind of the net of your bank account is what's going on at a rate of change, right? So if you're putting $10 in every day and taking out 5, then your bank account is growing. If you're taking out 10 and only putting in 5, it's shrinking. And so net radiation changes in the same way during the day. So transmission, to explain a little more from what we have above there. Transmission is just the passage of shortwave and longwave energy through space, the atmosphere or water. And so we do have, especially shortwave radiation can pass through the air, especially in the redder wavelengths. And of course, we get radiation from the sun, so definitely passes through space and the atmosphere. Scattering is where the deflection and redirection of insulation is happening. Nitrogen does that, particularly as a gas. That's the blue skies we have when it's not cloudy. Dust scatters, as we talked about Pinatubo already. Water vapor does a little scattering. Clouds, of course, scatter. And ice in the atmosphere, even in clouds too, scatters.